dire straits and pray for softening of hearts. We ask also for guidance as we make decisions, that we will be able to do those things in the best interest of our city here in Westhaven. We're also grateful for the moisture we've received and pray that we may continue to receive sufficient to meet the needs of summertime. Again, we're grateful for all the blessings that we do have and say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Will everybody please stand? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for those two items, Commissioners. All right, action on the minutes from our last meeting. Any changes, corrections? There's a few typos I saw, but it didn't affect the overall meaning. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes with the typos corrected.
I have a motion and a second for to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Oh, I thought it was on.
All right. Report actions taken by the City Council. Charisse?
The major thing to report is the City Council adopted the patio home zone with the Commission's recommendation of allowing for 0 lot lines if a master development agreement was put into place. The vote wasn't unanimous. It was 3-2. But the council members who voted in favor of it, they did go and look at some of the communities that were developed similarly, and that was referenced in the staff report. And they found them to be very attractive, and they determined that it would be a benefit to the city, that if someone wanted to do that and bring that in under a proposed MDA, that would be an asset.
Wow, great.
The other thing to report on is you'll recall that the council denied the final plat for phase 2 of Fairhaven. Okay, I get Fairhaven and Haven Parkway mixed up. It's taken us a bit of time to find an appeal authority that we could use because of a conflict of interest that Craig Call has, but we got that squared away today.
Yes.
Is that right? And it's been scheduled
For March 24th for the appeal hearing.
Yeah. So I will report back to the commission once that's been held. Oh, thank you. The other ordinance that had gone to the city council, that they passed with little discussion or debate, is standardizing the definition of an acre. So.
What about the HBH development?
What?
That commercial development?
That has not gone to the city council yet.
Okay.
We have started, between myself and the city engineer, we've started taking more of a position that while we're okay with the planning commission reviewing the plat, that in order to ensure that the developer is working on the construction drawings and things like that in concert with plat approvals, that we're not allowing plats to go to the city council until construction drawings have been submitted and are under review and approval, and they haven't submitted those yet.
Okay.
They also did rezone the property for the Weaver School District. I can't remember if that had been done at the last, was that 2 meetings ago? Okay. The meetings were back to back to back to back, so I couldn't remember if it was 1 or 2 meetings ago. But yeah, that's what the council has done with things that have come out of the planning commission.
All right. Thank you, Sherry. All right. Item number 5 on our agenda, public hearing to consider a conditional use application to use a garage for storage and repair of old used motorcycles, motorbikes, ATVs, etc. Applicant, you want to come up? There you are. Just so we heard from you last time, but members of the public didn't, so if you would just state what you plan on doing and give us a summary of what you said last time so that everyone was on the same page.
Yeah, so currently I am enrolled in school.
Is that on?
Can you hear me now? There we go.
There we go.
So currently I am enrolled in college, and so in some free time, I just, as a hobby, I like to tinker on ATVs and dirt bikes, and for friends and family, for my own self, just because it's fun for me, you know. And so I quit my job to mainly focus on school, and I am a full-time family man. And when I get some downtime to, I guess, relieve stress, I go and work out in the garage, turn a wrench.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for him before we do the public hearing? Okay, have a seat, and we'll have you come back after the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion for the public hearing.
I'll make a motion that we have a public hearing.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to enter into public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're in public hearing. Any member of the public who would like to come up and speak at this time may do so. Please be considerate of others. Please keep your time short, and remember that you're neighbors. You don't want to say anything that's going to cause you long-term problems.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Ken Bradshaw, 3693 South, 3650 West. I live immediately to the north of the property we're talking about. Let me start by saying, frankly, I don't care if they do it or not, but I think that's the wrong question. The question is, do you all have the authority to let them do it? And I'm going to suggest 2 or 3 reasons why I think you do not.
Can you get closer to the mic, Ken?
Pardon?
Can you get one of those mics closer? I'm guessing deaf, maybe.
I can try all kinds of different things. I don't control the volume. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for asking that. One of the problems you've got, and let me just say this, zoning ordinances, particularly when you're talking about use, are troubling things. And in my prior life, I used to talk to planning commissions and city council members, and I would say, if a use is permitted, it is by definition permitted, and you don't get to tell them, no, you can't do it. If it's conditional, you have to think of it as it is permitted, with the imposition of reasonable conditions, most of which have to be found in the ordinance itself. You can't just make them up as you go. If it's not permitted or conditional, you can't do it. It's period. So if you start from that premise, the first problem with this particular application is the applicant, in my view, has no standing to file the application. Because if you grant a use or a conditional use, then you're burdening the ownership of that property. You're burdening the property and the owner. The applicant in this case is not the owner. So I think you have to ask the first question, does the applicant have the right to file the application? And my view is they do not. So I think you need to deny it on that basis. I heard during the work session, and it is correct, you received a revised staff report. Initially, the analysis that was done as though it were a R1 residential zone. The new analysis deals with it as an open space zone. Now, let me just tell you a couple problems here with that. When you look at the zoning map, the property itself, and I'm in that same category, my property's that same one, is on the zoning map. It's open space / recreation / residential 1 acre density. Your zoning ordinance defines what an R1 zone is, and it lists the permitted and conditional uses. The zoning ordinance talks about residential. We'll get to that in Title 10 about R1 zones and so on. But nowhere do you have a recreation zone. You do not have one when you go through the zoning ordinance online. More importantly, there is no open space, recreation, residential zone in your zoning ordinance. You can grant a permitted use or conditional use under R1. You can do it under residential, but you don't have a zoning for open space, recreation, residential. Now, the legal nuance seems to me to be, there's another section in your ordinance which says that the map, the zoning map, is incorporated into, and I'll give these citations to Amy so she'll have. But the zoning map is incorporated into and made a part of the zoning ordinance. So what that says to you is, because the map has been incorporated into the zoning ordinance itself, now you do have an open space, recreation, residential, R1 zone. But nowhere do you have any language for that zone that tells you what you can do as a permitted or conditional use. So the second point being, the applicant's wrong. The second point is that the zone that you have does not have any permitted or conditional uses, and you can't make those up as you go. So if you find that to be the case, then you have to deny the application. Okay, so that gets you then to, if you just say, well, no, we think that's okay, we're going to just let them go forward on the basis of that because of the incorporation of the map, then that gets you to what are you going to use as your analytical tools to decide what the conditions are and what you can and cannot approve. So your analysis at that point seems to me to have to turn on, let's look at what the highest limitation on the property's use would be, and that would be as an R1 zone. So when you get to that point, what you have is the home occupation is a permitted use in an R1 zone. But it talks about what is it that's permitted. And then it also talks about some conditions. And you are fully aware of that. Your staff has briefed you on that, so I won't belabor that point. But the troubling part is that if you start looking at what's going to be done or not done in those zones under the home occupation, then, pardon the rattling pages here, you have to worry about things such as parking, sounds, noises, lighting, vibration, anything that's uncommon in the established character of the surrounding area to such a degree as to constitute a nuisance as defined in the state code. And again, you've had that analysis done, your staff has done a fine job with that. Talking about the number of vehicles that you can have, the number of cars. The word that's used is cars in your occupation ordinance. So you want to be careful about that because your application right now doesn't talk about cars. In fact, it specifically exempts cars. And you don't have anything that in that ordinance, in that definition of home occupation, that talks about motorcycles, RVs, ATVs. You don't have that. And if you don't have it, you can't make something up. But if in the final analysis you decide that you are going to grant this, which I don't think you can simply because the legal basis is not there. If you're going to do that, I would certainly recommend and ask that you make as one of your conditions that the term car as it exists in here, in your ordinance, will be applied through this conditional use permit to include the things that they have enunciated and said they're going to be doing. Because right now, the ordinance does not contemplate those. But if you're going to do it, then you have to make a definition as you go. You're going to have to define what you're going to be doing in this open space ordinance, this open space zone, pardon me, that you don't have. And you're going to need to come with conditions that relate to cars, but you don't have cars. You're talking about something else. So that's really where I am on that thing. Again, I just don't think at this point, the way the application is presented, given what you have in your zoning ordinance, I don't think you have authority to grant this particular application. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ken. Anyone else?
Pete Graham, I live at 3890 South, 3650 West, which is to the south side of that corner. We come in there a lot. No, we don't drive in and out a lot, but when we do make
Can you get closer to the mic?
when we do drive in there, we make that left turn. And when they park the ATV trailers out there at night, it's very hard to see them. And that's one of my concerns. The other one is I think this will just encourage ATV use on those streets. And we have a lot of those in the summertime, which doesn't bother me on occasion, but we don't need to pick up the usage where it becomes a noise and child accident hazard. Because some of the people, I don't know this person, but the people that bring their bikes over, their machines over, are they gonna test them out? And they're gonna check them on that street for response and speed, and that worries me a lot. We have children that live in there. We have some of them that come around that corner at the end by the park that seem to see how fast they can make it right now. And I don't need to see any more in there. And that's my only objection, so.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else?
Good afternoon. Kevin Walton, I live at 3686 South, 3650 West, Westhaven.
Say your name.
Say your name a little slower.
Yeah.
E-V-I-N, Walton.
Walton, okay.
That's unusual, nobody can hear me.
Can you get really close to that mic there?
Okay.
Is it off?
It's
Is it
Is there a light on?
Is that better or worse?
That's better. If you're right by
I
it.
gotta stand right on
close
it then.
to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I live just directly northeast of that, a couple houses down, and I've seen them out there working several times. They're very respectful. They take great care of their people not ripping up and down the street. They're very respectful of the neighbors. There's no noise after hours. They're very much in control of anybody that have ever working on people's stuff. It seems like it's just a hobby for him. I've got grandkids that live the next street over, and I have no fear about letting them come walking over on the street. I have no objections to this. I don't know what the legalities are, but my opinion, as close as I live, I have no objection to it at all.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Everybody's shy that everybody gets up at the same time.
Mike Gallagher, I also live in the neighborhood.
Mike, what?
Gallagher.
Okay, thank you.
Is my understanding that is conditional use meaning also that they would be working on other people's machines, as in a commercial capacity?
Do you want to answer that, or do you want to wait, or?
We need to wait until after the public hearing to answer any questions.
Okay. Well, my concern is with the commercial aspect of it in a residential neighborhood. I think it's a way to skirt the law. There are plenty of businesses in Westhaven that have to abide by many standards, including planning and zoning meetings, landscaping plans, drainage, signage, et cetera, et cetera. And I think this is a backdoor way of getting into a commercial operation. And what's to stop other people then from opening auto repair, auto body, construction company, et cetera, in a residential area? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Scott Madsen, 3727 South, 3650 West. I'm actually Tanis's father. To address some of the problems, I love all my neighbors. They're great. I didn't quite understand. I've never been a lawyer. I've never held city office, so a lot of the things I didn't understand that was brought up. We did, before he did this, we did contact the state, and they actually came out to the house and went through a step-by-step thing of what we had to do. And this is the last thing. We've got bonded, we've got insured. This last year has been really hard for everybody, and I know that, and I appreciate you guys' time coming out here. COVID just really threw my family for a loop. It really messed things up. And it was really a wonderful thing to be able to work on the bikes. We have several bikes. A lot of them are my dad's. Some of them are my uncle's that were given to us, and older ones that he's played with. And I've been out there. It's been fun as neighbors walk by and they come up and reminisce and talk about what they had when they were younger. And I'm guessing we've probably worked on about 13 different bikes from neighbors. At no time have we ever done anything commercial. This has nothing to do with this. This is just, my boy's going to school. He can't afford a home. He finally quit his job to go back to school. Housing's out of control. I mean, everything's out of control. I couldn't buy the house I live in now. There's no way. I couldn't qualify. I've got 2 of my kids living in the basement trying to save up for a house. He's one of them. And him and his wife finally sat down and says, we're never going to get a house unless we go back to school. And we're not trying to trick anybody. We're not trying to hurt anybody. Anything that limitations you want to put is fine. Keep it behind the fence. Keep it in the garage. No writing on the roads. Nobody's coming to the house. We've already established all that. This is just a way for him to make a few dollars. He's got 1 kid and another one on the way, and it's just really difficult. And we're happy to talk to neighbors and try to resolve any problems. And if we don't live up to it, he's fine with you pulling the permit and ending it there. I'm a little bit emotional and frustrated just with everything that has gone on in the last couple of years. And I got a kid who saved $50,000 for a home, and her husband makes $17 an hour. They're trying to buy a home right now, and they finally gave up. They're looking at trailer homes because they just can't afford it. And this is all he's trying to do is just make a few dollars. He's not trying to jump in there. And when he finishes school and moves away, the business goes away. It's not staying. I don't want to continue it. I don't want to have it. And so it's a short period. And I can't give you an exact time. It could be 2 years, it could be 4 years, but it's not a permanent issue. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Paul Albert. I'm at 3735 South, 3750 West. I'm immediately west of them, 1 block, and have been the beneficiary of their services. I've pushed my dirt bikes down there and pushed go-karts down there. My kids have participated, and they've helped them with quite a few things. I haven't found them to be a nuisance at all. I've been in the neighborhood almost 15 years now, and they've been there, I don't know, 4 or 5, half a dozen, I'm not sure. But hasn't really been a nuisance at all. I mean, no more than the loud cars going down the road. It's just part of being in a neighborhood. We just don't, people driving the lawnmowers to the neighbors to help them mow the lawn. No big deal. It's just part of being in the country, or what we used to be country. I'm all for it. I think it would be, we've got plenty of, I'm sure you have them in your neighborhoods too, where people are running a home business, and this wouldn't be any different. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Chersti Crawford. I'll spell it Chersti Crawford. I am
How do you say it, your first name?
Chersti.
Okay, that's different.
Parents. I am not against home businesses. I think that's a great idea, but I think it needs to not take away from the aesthetics of. That being said, the noise is one issue and stuff like that. That's for you guys to decide conditional things. My question for you to consider is the signage. Does the home business also have to conform to the same signage as a typical business? Because if I understand that right, and I read your zoning things, he indicated in your last meeting that he had a 30-inch by 50-inch banner he was going to hang on his shed. And banners apparently are only supposed to be a 6-month thing. You have to have permanent signage. And for a home occupation to put something permanent on the side of a shed seems a little bit big for me. But I'd like to still be able to drive in. And yes, we have businesses on our street. And if you just drove down the street, you would not necessarily know they're there. And I like that that's the aesthetic of the neighborhood. And that's fine if he does it, but the conditions have to still provide that that neighborhood looks like a neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Lisa Gallagher, and he wants to put a sign up for the business. Is that correct?
I will answer it at the end, but yeah, he has to for the
Doesn't
state.
that make it commercial?
What's that?
Doesn't that make it commercial?
No, not necessarily.
Okay. I live close proximity and I do work from home, and I have dealt with noise from the neighbors, and I guess it depends on what the hours are they want to work and if it's weekends. But there's a lot of ATVs, motorcycles that go up and down 3700 South, and it's noisy. And it makes it really hard to concentrate. And a lot of speeding as well, blowing through stop signs. So that's one concern I have if they're test driving these vehicles, especially the motorcycles that have the exhaust to make them really loud. That can be a major issue for me.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Is there anyone online that wants to comment? You can raise your hand or unmute and say you want to speak. Sometimes it takes a minute to find the button. Okay, I don't see anyone else, so I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we leave public hearing.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to leave public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're out of public hearing. All right. If you want to come back up. So Amy, let's discuss the legalities first. So Ken gave us a lot. So it seems to me the open space zone, is there an open space zone that's written out that gives us permission to? It seemed like the staff report said no, but.
Well, the staff report says that home occupations are not permitted or conditional in the open space zone. And that's what we have here, is this property sits in the open space zone.
Which last time we didn't realize.
We didn't, because the previous staff report didn't have the right zone. And when there was further research done, that's when it was discovered that it's the open space zone. And so this would not be allowed.
So you're in agreement legally that we don't have the authority to grant it?
I am.
Okay.
And so I agree both with Sherry and with Mr. Bradshaw.
Okay.
My question though, if there's already businesses, home-based businesses in that zone, are they grandfathered, or how does that affect, like I know there's bookkeepers, daycares, hair salons.
I can't answer that because that's not what's in front of us.
Okay, I'm just curious.
We probably need to do something about that.
Again, I'm not going to comment on that because that's not what's in front of us. What's in front of us right now is this particular application, and based upon our research, the open space zone wouldn't allow it.
So if we'd have known this last time, we probably wouldn't have, we wouldn't have held the public hearing, I think. How the rest of you, do you agree with Amy? You disagree? Because I think that's the first question that has to be answered. Because there's no point in going further if we don't have the legal authority to do it.
It's kind of frustrating, I think, that we.
Yeah, I feel like you may feel like we jerked you around a little, but we really didn't.
No, I totally understand. If I may, what can I do then? I have a bike in my garage and I work on it. So I'm not sure what kind of steps I need to take here to be able to do that.
Well, if the law doesn't give us the authority to do something, then we can't do it. So that's the dilemma we're at right now. So we wouldn't be able to tell you one way or the other. You would just, if you did it, then you wouldn't be in compliance with the law. But
Well, unless it's his own personal bike, that doesn't have anything to do with it. But if he's just doing it as a business, that's what we're talking about, correct?
right.
Yeah, he can work on his own stuff. He just can't work on other people's.
What if I work on my neighbor's stuff for free? Because I like doing this, and I have neighbors come over with their snow blowers or lawn mowers.
I think is what it is if you're coming in for profit, as a business, as you're gaining monetary value from your services that you're providing, is where the issue becomes. You're applying for a business license, or you have applied for a business license. You're bonded. You're got your dealer's license. Anything you would do as far as work on anybody's ATVs, motor vehicles, whatever it is if you're doing it without being paid, it's one thing, because everybody works on their own cars and just tinkers in their garage. But it's when you become a business and try and do it out of your home, that's where the issue is.
Yeah, so you wouldn't have a business license. You wouldn't have a state license for that location. If you did it somewhere in a commercial area and got your state license, that's fine. But, if you went over to your neighbor's house and helped them fix their ATV or something, that's for no money. That's not a business. So, right, Amy?
Yeah.
So that's the best guidance I could give you, I guess, not being a lawyer myself. So my opinion is that we don't have the legal authority to give it to you based on what our attorneys told us and the staff. So does anybody disagree or have any other thoughts? I feel bad. I do, because our last time we thought you were in a mixed-use zone, so we thought, it would be okay in a mixed-use zone. We would have the authority to grant it, but we since found out that's not the zone you're in. So if something changes in the future, then maybe. So.
But if he works on neighbors' cars, what about, it's not part of the business, but just maybe just as favors, or I don't know if I want to use the word barter or trade, but I'll work on your bike if, I don't know, does that get too complicated? I just don't want him to, I want him to be, have the freedom to have that outlet to do his hobby, but not feel like he's under the microscope, so.
Well, I think that where the issue is the state's going to require, because you want to buy bikes, fix them, and then turn around and resell them, correct? And the state requires you to have a business license or a dealer's license, because you are only allowed to sell 3 titled vehicles in a calendar year, correct? Without a dealer's license.
Yeah, to my understanding.
And then because of a dealer, that's where what your concern is that the state requires you to have a billboard, not a billboard, but a sign that indicates your dealer's license and the name of the company that you're operating under, correct?
Yeah, and it was facing towards our driveway, so not towards the road. And essentially, once the everything got finalized and approved, since no one was going to be coming to the home, I really don't need to have it up. So
Well, except for the state would require you
Yeah,
to
the
have
state
it up
would require you
because
to
of
have it
your-
up as they come in and do inspections and
So-
stuff, so.
If I were you, what I would do is find a mechanic or someone, maybe one that has a commercial business, they fix cars or something somewhere, that you could tag along with them, maybe give them a small percentage of your sales or something, or make some kind of arrangement with them where you could put your signage up. It would be a commercial location. You could do it all from there and you wouldn't have any issues at all. And the state would give you that license. That's what I would do. Because, I know a few mechanics around, and I just think they wouldn't, as long as, it's a small kind of operation and they had some space, I don't think they'd have a big problem with it. So, especially since you're insured on your own and you're, that kind of thing. So that would be my advice. Any other thoughts?
You need to make a motion.
Yep, we need to make a motion, dispense with it. So someone want to try that? You can sit down if you want. Thank you.
I would just like to say I appreciate the neighbors and people coming out and participating. I think it's really helpful to know, and I think in this situation, I think our hands are tied, but, it'd be nice if we could allow everything to happen in, for home-based businesses, for people to thrive and be able to have these situations. But I think our ordinance is holding us back on this one.
Okay, someone have a motion for me?
I kind of don't want to, but I will. I'll make a motion that we deny the conditional use permit for the use of a garage for storage and repair of old used motorcycles, motorbikes, etc. at 3727 South, 3650 West.
I'll second it.
Will you please
State your reason.
state the reason?
Oh, yes, just because it is not allowed in the ordinance for the open space zone. Is the open space /
Recreational.
residential.
Yeah. Is your second?
And then
The
also,
second's still the same.
Yeah, for the zoning under that standard, and then also that the noise and engine repair could be detrimental to the residential character of the neighborhood.
And isn't there already a home occupation in that?
Yeah, there's already one existing home occupation.
Even if we could, we couldn't based on that.
That the ordinance only allows, our home-based occupation ordinance only allows for one home-based business per residence.
All right, your
Second
second
it.
still stands.
Yep.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to deny the conditional use application for those reasons stated. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, it's denied. All right, discussion and action on item number 7, discussion and action on public hearing to concerning the ordinance updating the Westhaven site plan design review requirements. We've been working on this for a while. Thank you all for coming. If you want to leave, you can. Any changes to this? We discussed it in work session, but are there any changes anyone wants to make on this? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
And this is any more than what we've already talked about in the work session, correct?
Yeah, we had a few minor wording changes, but nothing substantial, right, from the work session?
Yeah, they're just clarifying. There's some clarifying and some grammar technical changes.
Yeah, so whoever makes a motion on this, make sure you incorporate those changes, right? Not every single one of them, just
Get a new pretzel.
just ballpark them right. Is that okay,
You
Amy?
could just say with the changes presented and and the technical corrections as discussed in the work session.
Okay. You got that, Natalie?
So we just recommend that it goes up for.
Yeah, goes to the city council, yeah.
Okay.
Can't wait.
I make a motion that we send the ordinance for site plan and design review forward to city council for their consideration, adopting the few technical wording changes that were discussed in our work session.
I'll second it.
See, I did okay.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to forward to the city council with recommendation the ordinance updating the Westhaven site plan and design review requirements with the small changes of wording and technical things that we did in the work session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it's headed to city council. All right, item number 8. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.